Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Hi, this is HP from Noise Junkies.
And this is Father Malone from Dark Destinations.
Please join us as we examine one of the greatest sitcoms in television history, Taxi, on Night Mr. Walters, a Taxi podcast.
Good night, Mr. Walters.
Weirding Way Media.
Gather round creeps, gather around fools, gather round spirits, and gather around ghouls. Listen to me, for I have a story of blackening fright, and all things gory, and all things noise junkies. Hello. Welcome, you fellow noise junkies. If you're listening to us, we know you are one of us. Gabba Gabba, we accept you.
Hey.
And tonight, this is every episode's special, but this one's super special because we are celebrating the most atmospheric holiday, the greatest holiday of all time. The holiday that still scares the living bejeebus out of fundamentalist Christians, so you know it's near and dear to my heathen heart. I'm talking about Halloween, ladies and ghouls, and I am so stoked. I'm so glad that we're all hosts. I don't view any of us co-hosts. We are like hosts 1, 2, and cubed. It's a hive mind. We're like the Borg.
You're in the captain's chair this evening, though.
I am, and I didn't wear a hat. Before I even get into my spiel, into the knuckle deep into the guts of the pumpkin here, HP, how the heck have you been? What have you been up to?
I'm doing great, Heather. It's great to see you. It's been a while since we've gathered to record. Just, as my dad would say, work, eat, sleep. That's pretty much it. Just recording, and looking forward to this. This is going to be an interesting show, I think.
Ooh, I think so too. And of course, Father Malone, the man of the dulcet tones himself. How are you doing, sir?
Hello there.
Oh, I'm doing very well. Good evening and happy Halloween, Noise Junkies. You might be listening to this in February. Doesn't matter. It's Halloween everywhere all the time.
100%. Those are words right to my little heart right over here. I mean, ministry probably would lie about some things. But when they sang every day is Halloween, that was not a lie.
No, you can't not trust ministry. It's right there in the name.
Well, I think that might actually be doubly reason not to trust. But because, We are music lovers, enthusiasts, obsessos. Two of us are musicians, unless you count the songs I sing to my Brody Lee dog and my Presto and Davy Boy cats. Does it count? Okay, cool.
I think so.
I don't think they count.
Absolutely.
But it's
Bobby McFerrin made a long and lustrous career out of using nothing but his equipment that God provided to him.
That's beautiful. Oh my God. I am often called the Bobby McFerrin of podcast. So yeah, I'm like the Bobby McFerrin after head trauma. but of course, my point is because we are esoteric folk. We're not doing no thrillers. We're not talking about the, Ray Parker Stevens that got sued by Huey Lewis in the News Ghostbusters theme.
Parker Jr. Ray Stevenson just died.
Yeah.
Ray Stevenson. I love a Halloween deep cut. I am personally on the hunt all year round for songs that are a little outside the box some more than others. Like some do fit into it. It's just a lot of people don't know about them as much. But again, that's why we do this podcast, to help kind of turn you guys on. Not in that way. That'll come on the February show when we get saucy Valentine show. I'm putting that seed out there for the record. But no, just like something, to make your pumpkin season a little more fun, a little different. I think people don't rely on the Drew's Famous, certainly don't rely on Kids Bops. I hate it when you go to a Halloween store and they're playing Witchy Woman by the Eagles. Why? Why do you hate me? It feels personal.
It's from those goddamn compilations that have proliferated. We have to hear Ghostbusters. We have to hear Thriller. We have to hear anything that vaguely resembles something. If the word evil is in the title, it'll be on there.
This is like our little magic Samhain ritual to right some musical wrongs for the season.
And they ruined Werewolves of London. Stop playing it.
Yeah.
I want to hear it sandwiched in between fucking Ghostbusters and some other nonsense thing while I'm parsing through the Spirit Halloween store. We don't need to be assaulted with that nonsense.
No. I remember when you're hearing Love Shack. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the B-52s, but Love Shack is not spooky.
You heard Love Shack?
I think somebody at Halloween just like Love Shack. They were playing it.
Yeah, what's the tie-in to the holiday? I don't get it.
It's Fred Schneider's at the
Like, what's they going to shut me down at the end of the month?
Yeah. Well, now I kind of want to rescind my comment, because if that was the case, I kind of have props for that Spirit Halloween employee. But yeah, I mean, this is the season where, we are in the veil betwixt the living, the dead, and even the undead is the thinnest. So we want to make it special. But I am getting ahead of myself, because we always, before our little intro or after a little intro, we always talk about what we're currently listening to. So this is like the little amuse bouche. Am I saying that right? Amuse bouche?
Yeah. I think it's just bouche.
Bouch.
Bouche, like the mighty bouche.
I love the mighty bouche. Well, at HP, what have you been listening to? What songs have been, spinning in your head right round lately?
Oh. All right. Well, just a shout out to Dead or Alive.
I love Dead or Alive.
Rest in peace. The lead singer. I don't know his name.
Pete Burns.
So yeah, Pete Burns. That's right. I've been listening to. So there's a site that I go to religiously called Super Deluxe Edition, and they give me all the info and all the upcoming releases and re-releases. And they, from time to time, they'll put out special editions of certain albums. They've done stuff by Bob Dylan and Jethro Tull, and they put out a 40th anniversary edition of the album Lexicon of Love by ABC.
Oh, nice.
Which is one of my favorites from that period.
If I were to say to you, can you keep the secret?
People will know I probably have mentioned it. I have a deep appreciation for Trevor Horn. He's the legend, of course, from the Buggles. He was in Yes. Of course, I have to mention that he was a founding member of the Art of Noise. But he was also an incredible producer. He produced Welcome to the Pleasure Dome for Frankie Goes to Hollywood. He produced Slave to the Rhythm, which is another favorite of mine by Grace Jones. Seal's debut album, the list goes on and on. Anyway, this was his first major production. Contributing to it were two other founding members of Art of Noise, Ann Dudley and Jay Jazalik. Dudley orchestrated the album, and Jazalik programmed the Fairlight CMI, which was an early digital sampler. And this was a big album for them. This was their big, big hit. It was number 1 on the UK charts. It was number 24 in the US Billboard 200. Everybody knows the songs Poison Arrow and Look of Love. They all come off of this album. The 40th anniversary edition features the entire album. It was remixed by a guy named Steven Wilson, who is kind of legendary right now for doing a lot of remixing work and surround sound work with XTC. Yes, Black Sabbath. He's worked with a bunch of interesting people. And he did his own mix for this album. And it's not going to replace the original because it's pretty much peerless. But it's a pretty interesting mix. It takes a lot of chances. It reveals a lot of detail, because it's a very dense mix, the original 82 mix, but he did a really good job with it. And it's not going to replace the original mix, but I like it a lot. And yeah, so I've been spinning that pretty much constantly since I got it. So shout out to Super Deluxe Edition. Great set.
I feel covered in shame that I was not aware of the Art of Noise's participation in that particular production.
Same.
Yeah, it's crazy because I think the only member not to work on it was Paul Morley, I believe. But yeah, it's basically the Art of Noise all over this album, and they formed the band the following year. There was I don't know if you ever saw, they did, the Prince's Trust concerts they used to do in England. One year they did one just centered around Trevor Horn and all the acts that he worked with. And there's an incredible version of Close to the Edit. They perform it live in concert. It blows your mind when you see it because it's so intricate and it's incredible. I'm rambling, but yeah.
Ramble on. Because, yeah, I've seen that and I'm concurring. It is incredible. And I saw it because you recommended it to me. When you first saw it, immediately you said, you need to see this.
Well, you're the biggest Art of Noise fan that I know, Father Malone, so I figured you would like that. But no, it's fantastic. If anyone's not familiar with Lexicon of Love, go check it out. It's even if you're not a big fan of ABC, it's so richly produced and the songs are really incredibly catchy. And it's a fantastic album from beginning to end.
I love that answer. And I, too, did not know about the Art of Noise connection either, Father Malone. And I'm ashamed. We both love that band. I mean, I even had a crush on J.J. Jazalik when I was in college, which is so on brand for me. I love a programmer. I love that. I'll have to look for that edition. So very cool. Thank you. And of course, Father Malone. What's been tickling your ivories?
Sorry.
No, I don't even know.
I'm not sure, but you don't have piano player fingers. I think they started late in life.
It's metaphorical? I don't know.
First of all, pumpkin season is spicy season, and any of the songs I've chosen for tonight's program, you can have sex to. Now, as to what I'm listening to lately, we all go through musical cycles where some artist from our past kind of recurs and you get back into it for a week or two and you kind of discard them just the same, right? One has come up for me recently that I tend to think of as those other kinds of bands that are easily brought up and then discarded. But the fact is, this band never really goes away for me. I'm always playing them somewhat in the background before I dive back in for a full-on bender of re-experiencing them. So they're perfectly named because we're talking about Morphine. And
right on.
You see, I met a devil named Buena. And since I met the devil, I've been the same. Oh no! And I feel alright now, I have to tell you. think it's time for me to finally introduce you to the whiner, 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 good, good girl.
It's kind of unfair that a band that is so dreamy and deliberate and somnambulant has a frontman named Mark Sandman. HP and I are both Boston boys, both grew up in Boston, and this is a Boston band. There are a lot of great bands came out of Boston, but for me, this is the band that came out of Boston. We were contemporaries of them, actually. They were there playing bars around the time that we were there, and I'd love to say that I saw them at TT the Bear's place or the Middle East, but I did not. I had no knowledge of them until I moved to the West Coast. I didn't hear them until I heard Cure for Pain, which is their second album, and it came out in September of '93, and I heard it as soon as it came out, and I was instantly transfixed. That's the album I return to most of all. I think it's the best. Pound for pound, every song on it is just incredible. The song that literally every song on it is great. It's a perfect album. The song Cure for Pain in particular is a song that has always hit me right where I live. Basically the bridge of the song, the lyrics is
I propose a toast to my self-control. You see it crawling helpless on the floor.
not an ethos of mine, but it certainly is a line that I relate to. So lyrically, they are spectacular, but then musically, if you haven't heard them, you have to. This is a trio with a drummer, a saxophonist, sometimes playing two saxophones simultaneously, and a bass player who has constructed his own bass, two strings, that he plays with a slide, the kind you use a slide guitar for. They are the most unique sounding band I think I'd ever heard at the time. They continue to be. There is nothing like them. They are their own sound. I used to think of Art of Noise that way, as a matter of fact. Like, it was hard for me to categorize Art of Noise. They were just Art of Noise genre. And Morphine certainly slots into that. They had some moderate hits off of Cure for Pain. You know, they continued to be popular for a while. Unfortunately, Mark Sandman is no longer with us, and that was the end of Morphine. The music remains, and any chance I get to sort of re-revel in it, I take, and that's what I've been up to lately.
I also discovered them in college, and they were kind of a quintessential college band because they were sort of, you know, they weren't well known. I think they had some airplay on MTV, but they were just so hip. There was nothing like them anywhere, and probably still really nothing like them. But that song in particular, Cure for Pain, off of that album, it's really like you. It just gets me. Basically the idea.
Someday there'll be a cure for pain. That's the day I throw my drugs away. We found a cure for pain.
You really feel it in his voice. It gets you. A band and a musician that I mean, the shame of it is they had so much more to give, and they could have been massive. And unfortunately, he passed just as they were becoming, big. So
He died on stage.
Heart attack, right?
Yes. In Germany, I believe, at like a festival, or maybe it was Italy. It might have been Italy. Either way, he's a legend. I can't cry for what we didn't get, because what we did get was so fucking amazing. It's really a unique band and sound and time and place, but timeless at the same time.
Wow. That's a band I've always heard of, but I've never really taken the chance to kind of explore. So you have definitely made me want to do that. That was an amazing, just sort of Valentine to that band.
I hope you listen to them. I hope everyone listens to them. And we're going to have a Spotify playlist up where I'm going to have at least 7 or 8, or maybe, I don't know, whether 13 songs on that album. There might be 13 songs on the Spotify list. You never know.
I have a pick. I have 2 picks because I'm greedy, but I'll make them. I won't go on too long, hopefully. The first one's a song that even though I grew up with this band and once we get to my teen years, learned about its first iteration. There was a song of theirs that was new to me recently, and it enchanted me so much. I ended up actually writing an article kind of about it that's up on my Patreon, Rondo Heather. It's Watcher of the Skies by Genesis. This is off their 1972 album Foxtrot. This is Peter Gabriel era Genesis. Now, for a lot of Americans, especially if you're more like born 1980s up, you're undoubtedly more familiar with Phil Collins' fronted era Genesis. That Genesis and what Peter Gabriel's Genesis are two very different beasts. And but that's not to besmirch Phil Collins, because it's easy to write him off, because that era was definitely as a whole a lot more MOR. But Phil Collins is one hell of a motherfucking drummer, and if anybody doubts that, go listen to this and then listen to Frida's single for There's Something Going On, because the drum on that is tight.
You know you've changed and you're worse than life. That's something you can't deny.
But Watcher of the Skies is just this absolute perfection of a song. It's melancholy, it's haunting, it's big. It also just basically through the lyrics is delving into this, outsider looking in on an earth where we have already we've exterminated ourselves as a species. There's evidence that we were here, but we're gone, which is very heavy stuff. And of course, me being the happy little flower that I am. And there's an absolute brilliant performance of this, a live performance on YouTube from the Midnight Special.
Watching on the skies, what you want? It's the world that don't know one's own. He who like can know no surprise, raising his eyes, beholds a black hole.
And I really recommend reading the comments section on that, because I know a lot of people are like, oh God, comment section. But I find with YouTube, especially with music, you actually can find a lot of great stuff where it's just a lot of people just connecting. And there's a lady under the username Xenu's Sister that has the most amazing story about getting into them while she was living in a trailer, at 17, pregnant and married in the middle of Kansas. I don't know why I said Kansas, but the middle of Kansas. And
one of the Kansases.
And it just changed her life. And, to me, and that's kind of what I go into the article, is that the connective tissue of art, and that this song, when you hear it, you understand why it would have that kind of power. And then when you see the performance, you really see it. So Watcher of the Skies, Foxtrot as a whole is a really brilliant album. I'd recommend that. Nursery Crime was my introduction to that era, but I need to revisit that one. I have it on vinyl, but it's been a long time since I've listened to it. Foxtrot's awesome.
For me, I second what you're saying about the Peter Gabriel era. For me, it kind of began and ended with Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with that. If you've ever seen the bits and pieces, it's one of those, it's a concept album about a graffiti artist who goes into the subterranean world in New York to save his brother.
Must tell myself that I'm not here. I'm drowning in a liquid fear. Bottled in a strong compression by distortion shows obsession in the can. Get me out of despair.
It's really out there. And it was one of those deals where Peter Gabriel would dress up in these elaborate costumes during the stage productions. It's phenomenal. There's all sorts of clips on YouTube. Definitely check it out. But yeah, I love that era of Genesis.
Oh,
so,
it's
good
amazing.
Call.
Yeah, thank you. Well, and that's the thing. Gabriel, the whole costumes are like, he was doing that with Foxtrot era. He would come out, and I'm trying to think which song it was, where he's literally dressed as the Fox Lady on the cover. And with Watcher of the Skies, he is he's got like the Batwing headpiece and this amazing, almost Kenneth Anger, Lucifer Rising type cape. At one point he dressed as literal Lamia, which is like a type of, I believe, a vampire or witch, like a mythological creature. Yeah, cool. And literally a flower. It's so great. If you guys listen to the song Supper's Ready, which is a great song, but at one point he's the actual flower and he goes, a flower? Like that.
A flower?
Yeah. It's the cutest fucking thing in the world. It's so charming. And my second pick, though, is another British genius musician, Peter Hamill, who is probably best known for being a member of Vandergraaf Generator.
Don't look in my eyes, you may see all the numbers that stretch in my sky and color my hair. Don't say that I'm wrong in imagining that the voice of my life cannot sing.
Really great. And in my opinion, also underrated. But I recently discovered his 74 album, The Silent Corner and the Empty Stage. And Peter Hamill, and you could say this about Vandergraaf too, is one of those guys that even though he'll take sounds and some musical approaches that you could be like, oh, okay, I can see what, this is attached to as far as like tradition. But he's able to permutate it into making it something that is so completely his. And it's particularly like the song Is Not a Home off this album.
Sometimes I get the feeling that there's someone else there. The faceless watcher, he makes me uneasy. I can feel him through the floorboards and his presence is creepy. He informs me that I shall be expelled. What is that but out of and into? Don't know the nature of the door that I'd go through. Don't know the nature of the nature that I am inside.
I mean, it's like at parts almost like Brechtian, and I could see where somebody would listen to it and say it's kind of like David Bowie, but this is 74. Peter Hamill's a contemporary. He's a peer of David Bowie, so he's like Peter Hamill. I love David Bowie, for the record. I'm a huge Bowie fan, but Peter Hamill is such a gift. And this song and this album, I mean, if you want to hear something that you haven't ever really quite heard before, this is the guy for you. He's tapped into some kind of special DNA that I think there's like a familial, there's like a spiritual family of just like really true blue musicians who are just tapped into something that we can't even fully define. He's one of them. So those are my picks, Peter Hamill and Genesis.
I don't know enough about either of those things, honestly. My experience of Peter Gabriel, as far as fronting Genesis was, I was, I don't know, maybe 11 years old and was already fully into David Bowie and was already loving David Bowie's costumed shenanigans. And then I saw a little film of Genesis with Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel was dressed in a Harlequin outfit, like crawling on the floor. And I was so offended for David Bowie and my 11-year-olds that I swore I wouldn't listen to that band. And for some weird reason, I've managed to keep to that because my experience of that Genesis is virtually nil.
I would encourage you to check them out. And
I definitely will now. I mean, I see that there's a gap there, self-imposed, but like subconsciously self-imposed, but I know where it came from.
Yeah, that is hilarious. Oh, a little fact I learned recently about Lamb Lies Down on Broadway is there was a brief time when he actually at one point, I guess, briefly left the band before he really left the band. And that was basically, he was in talks with William Friedkin, R.I.P., one of my favorite directors, who wanted to make a film version of that album based on that album. Can you imagine?
I'm not sure. In the time that they would have had the effects, because a lot of weird stuff happens in that album. But I mean, maybe if you did it rotoscoped or animated or something, but it would have been pretty cool, absolutely. And to just a second, what you were saying, Phil Collins is an incredible drummer. He was. I mean, he can't play anymore because of all his health issues. But I would describe him, and people maybe will chuckle at this, but he was a very muscular drummer. He was probably as hard-hitting as somebody like John Bonham from Led Zeppelin. He was really an incredibly inventive and powerful drummer, which is why actually he was considered to join Led Zeppelin. I think he actually performed with them during Live Aid.
Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce some friends of mine to you. Would you welcome Mr. Robert Plant, Mr. Jimmy Page, Mr. John Paul Jones, Mr. Gary Johnson, Mr. Paul Martin.
On the drums, but yeah, no, it's remarkable. Genesis before and after Peter Gabriel, they're literally two different bands with really very little connective tissue.
Yeah, it's weird. It's so weird because it's like, who would think that two members, because Steve Hackett was kind of part of the Gabriel, more of that era too, and like with Hackett and Gabriel especially being gone, it does kind of morph. But no, I love the fact that you brought out how hard hitting. Like I mentioned the Frida song earlier, but the drumming on that is it's got like such a Sturm und Drang thing to it, and then you're like, that's Phil Collins, and it's like the guy that sang Illegal Alien.
Stand at the office at the fill out the forms. A pink one, a red one, the girl does you choose. Up to the counter, you see what they think. They said it doesn't count, man, it ain't written in ink.
What? But
So fun.
yeah, oh, I hate that song. I hate that fucking song. It's racist, but I don't think they're racist, but the song, it's not good, as we would say. Phenomenal. And actually, if you watch live clips of him with Genesis of the Gabriel era and see him, that's totally like manly period Phil Collins. It's like
He had a beard. He was like,
hitting the skins with like ferocity. Yes. So thank you. And Father Miller, if you get around to checking it, let me and HP know what you think of Genesis with Peter Gabriel. Did you ever like some of his solo stuff at least, or was like that image of him as a harlequin so offensive to you that you were like, no, Peter Gabriel, no, like that?
No, I'm a massive Peter Gabriel fan. Solo.
Yay!
It's Peter Gabriel. Like,
Oh my God, he's beautiful, right?
yeah, The Passion, his soundtrack to The Last Temptation of Christ is, I wore my CD out listening to that. And the solo work, just the sort of rocky pop song stuff is just above all else. It's amazing.
He made some really creepy videos back in the day. I remember the video for Games Without Frontiers. Do you remember this? It's all very harshly illuminated with green light and red light, and he's kind of like, cavorting around with these kids along this supper table and
Whistling to sweet kissing baboons in the jungle. It's a knockout. If looks could kill, they probably will. In Games Without Frontiers, war without tears.
very creepy. And Shock the Monkey is very hyperkinetic and crazy. He's
the
kind of
freaked me out as a kid with that makeup and all the zoom ins. It was all tribal and crazy and weird. Yeah. Who is this crazy?
Yeah.
That I liked, but I don't know. The Genesis one just seemed like he was trying too hard.
I will say, Games Without Frontiers, there's two versions of the video, which is strange. They're very similar, but there are some differences. The original, I'm trying to remember if it's in both of them or the original or the first one, but somebody has taken a baby doll head and it's got four facing faces. Like every time it spins, there's a different face on it. It's a baby doll. It's a great visual. And Peter Gabriel in a lunatard, in like a lunatard, does this demonic grin. And
You're wearing it on the moon.
He wore it on the
I love these. I think these are portmanteaus that you're coming up with. These are fantastic.
Thank you.
Lunatard and Ray Parker Jackson, Ray Stevens. That's awesome.
Ray Stevens.
You're the queen of the portmanteau.
Oh, thank you. Oh my God. I need to let me know your PayPal information later because thank you. It's all on purpose, wink. But also the little Kate Bush vocal in Games Without Frontier, because I'm a huge Kate Bush fan too. I love that's her saying the like "Je sans frontière" like that. which I once read online that people thought it was somebody singing "She's So Fucking Lame." I love like misheard lyrics that make no sense. I worked with a lady that thought Stevie Nicks' "Stand Back" was Tampax.
She was hearing what she wanted to hear.
Well, she was like, "Oh man, Stevie Nicks is doing a commercial for tampons." I'm sorry, this is very silly, as am I, but it's okay because it's a Halloween season. What better season for us to embrace our inner evil clown? Now, I don't mean like some lame ass CGI clown. I'm talking like circus clown that has seen some shit. That's my jam right there. Little bit of bourbon and a lot of tears and grease paint. Come on, it's Halloween. Get your candy buckets, guys, because this is the greatest season. And we got to dive into it. I am so pumped. I'm pumped up talking about my choices. I am absolutely aghast and delighted to hear what you guys have picked. And I got to start with the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour, Father Malone. What is your first deep cut Halloween pick?
Now, like all of our subject matter, it's always too wide a field. It feels baffling once the folder arrives with the assignment. I tend to stagger back a bit. Soundtracks? How's that for general? Thanks, HP. And now Halloween. Oh, okay. I would say, look, I'm a Halloween kid. I was a Halloween kid when adults would still look askance at you for being one. The sheer number of spooky materials that I listen to are just innumerable. So I had to throw a bit of a restriction. You gave us 3 choices of any decade. Mm-hmm. And in categorizing them, I made a weird little parallel in my life. I'll try to keep my biographical parts of this to a minimum. Nevertheless, I chose 3 songs because I've been in love 3 times in my life, each time seemingly revolving around the Halloween season. And if I was in love with you, you were getting a mixtape. If you're in love with me now, you're getting a mixtape. And seemingly the spooky song would become our song. So I have 3 choices of 3 sort of our song that happen to be Halloween songs and kind of fit the bill here. So the first one is one that probably showed up on a mixtape when I was 17 years old, I guess. And that is Screaming Lord Sutch, She's Fallen in Love with a Monster Man.
She's falling in love with a monster man.
Well, it was hot last night at the movie show. I parked my baby in the very last row. We were just making love, kind of kidding around, when the monster appeared with this crazy sound.
If you don't know Screamin' Lord Sutch, what is wrong with you? I guess you would call him a novelty act, but the music is so damned good, I can't really relegate it. He's not Bobby Boris Pickett regurgitating the Monster Mash over and over again. Here's a man who recorded very briefly, well, over a decade, let's say, a decade or more, in the 50s into the 60s, almost into the 70s. Only 1 studio album to speak of. That was the end of the decade, and what an album it is. But released tons of singles, these Halloween-y, spooktacular songs, and the most famous of which is Jack the Ripper.
Scotland Yard will never get him, 'cause he's a much too clever.
He's much too clever.
But if they do, man, they'll get the leather, yeah.
Which, if you don't know that one, go to the Spotify playlist. You're going to hear it. It's quite incredible. But for me, the best one was always She's Fallen in Love with a Monster Man, which is recorded and released in 1864. No, in 1964. I believe. It's a story song where it's a guy's taking his girl to the local monster movie, and he notices that she's really identifying more with the monster than the hero, and she's kind of creepy, and it turns out she's Dracula's sister. It's a fun song. It has a female vocal sort of paralleling his, and she kind of chimes in at the end. I don't know who the vocal is. I can't find any information online about this stuff. These are songs that I kind of always left shrouded in mystery. I didn't want my monomania about things to sort of take them apart and demystify them and de-romanticize them in a way. So I apologize if I'm light on who the personnel are and my choices this evening. But I do know one man who played on the album, played guitar on this song. That was Jimmy Page, because the Savages is the name of Lord Sutch's backup band. And they are an insane, it was kind of a rotating roster of people, but what a rotating roster. Richie Blackmore played with them, Jeff Beck, John Bonham, Albert Lee, Mitch Mitchell of the Jimi Hendrix Experience was in there. So that's his backing band, this novelty act from England, this guy who sort of was casting his personas around until he caught sight of Screamin' Jay Hawkins, who could have easily made, I think, everyone's list tonight, and decided, I'll do that. I'll be this creeptastic guy. So this is a song I'm going to recommend, and I'm also going to recommend, on top of that, do research on Screamin' Lord Sutch, everybody. Just give him a little read. He's one of the most fascinating human beings who has ever lived, and ran for office any number of times. I'm not going to spoil it for you, actually. Look up Screamin' Lord Sutch, and definitely check out She's Fallen in Love with a Monster, man. It is romantic and sweet and wonderful. Holds a very special place in my heart. And it's a great song you could listen to on Halloween instead of, geez, I don't know, Monster Mash.
Oh my God. I could not love this pick. This is any more than this is perfect. This is a perfect pick. I love Screaming Lord Sutch. Everybody should. I highly recommend to our listeners, go on YouTube and look up both the Scopatone, which Scopatones, for me doesn't know, were basically music videos. They were played in video jukeboxes. They were more popular in Europe, but there were a few in America. And the Scopatone for his is actually very cinematic. And he's literally like putting out a cigarette, like stomping out a cigarette on a dead prostitute's hand. Like, it's gruesome and it's so great. And he really spooked people. Like, they loved it, but he was really, and the other clip, there's a little live clip of him doing Jack the Ripper live, and there are girls literally shrieking, and he is just hamming it up. What a beautiful pick. And I would love to know who the female vocal is, because I just love how the way she's like,
He's my kind of guy, cause I'm Dracula's sister.
the way that she reveals it, it's so great, so campy, fabulous. HP, do you have some feelings for our man?
I also think it's a great pick. I'm not familiar with that album, but I do have an album by him called Lord Sutch and Heavy Friends. And
that's the only album he ever made. Everything else is just a single that eventually got collected into like anthologies or whatever. But that album is a great album.
What made me think back to it was because when you were saying he had all these crazy guest performers, and I was like, yeah, I remember there was that crazy album where Jimmy Page was on it and Jeff Beck and Bonham and all that. And I will have to check that out. Absolutely will. That sounds fantastic. I love it.
Oh my God. I always wanted Ken Russell to put him in a movie.
Ken Russell should have made the Lord Sutch film, the history of Lord Sutch, and done some fantastical, fake biography.
Absolutely. Because think about it, we already had Arthur Brown and Tommy.
Yeah, nobody steal my idea of this fantastical version of Lord Sutch's biography. I'm going to go write that right now.
Do it. I love it. Well, and while our beloved Father Malone is scribing the ultimate definitive musical biography on Screaming Lord Sutch, HP, what is your first spooky pick of the night?
All right. Well, when the brief was handed down, when I got that mystery envelope that Father Malone described, slipped under my door, marked top secret for your eyes only. I was a little bit, I was kind of searching a little bit, because although I love Halloween, and it was, as a kid, certainly it was the thing. I remember as a kid going to Osco Drug and buying the costumes at the time were these boxes, and inside the box was a vinyl smock with kind of a thin plastic mask with a stretchy cord, and you'd put that around you. And they had everything from, I went one year as C-3PO, you could go as Batman, you could go as Superman, and they were just inexpensive costumes that parents would buy their kids just so they wouldn't nag them forever for a costume. And one year I remember, as a quick side note, my mom got Kiss Your Face makeup, the Kiss official Kiss makeup,
Oh my God.
And I wanted to go as Gene Simmons, but she said, well, that's too complicated. So she tried to do Paul Stanley, but she couldn't get the star right. So in the end, she said, well, I guess you're just going to go as a clown then. I was the world's saddest. I looked, Paul Stanley had been left out in the sun too long, and it was sort of smeared and not so, but
Rock bottom, girl, you know you ought to treat me good. Rock bottom, oh, you never treat me like you should.
I had fun with it. I remember, on the same topic, watching Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park on Halloween.
Yes.
So I loved it as a kid, but certainly as an adult, it wasn't like, it didn't hold the same like magnetic attraction that it did as a kid. So I was, a little bit thinking, well, what am I going to do? And then I realized that, so for the past, since we've had kids, we switch off, and when I give out candy, I'll put a little speaker next to the door, and I have some kind of Halloween mix that I play every year. And I said, oh, well, that's perfect. I can just go back to these great Halloween mixes that I built up over time. So all three of my picks, FYI, are basically in some way, shape, or form have been on a Halloween mix of mine over the years. Some of these are older than others, but it kind of like the whole brief made sense. I was like, oh, this is perfect, because I know these songs already. I just got to pick a few. So my first pick here is by one of my favorite bands of all time. The song is Boris the Spider by The Who. This comes off of their album A Quick One, which was kind of like their last album before they went full concept with The Who Sell Out, and they kind of never looked back.
He's come to a sticky end. Don't think he will ever mend. Nevermore he crawl round. He's embedded in the ground.
It was written by John Entwistle. I think this was supposedly his first composition ever. And really, in a band filled with odd personalities, he might lay claim to being the weirdest one of all of them, at least musically. If you listen to any of his solo stuff, he was kind of very left of center. But what I love about the song is it's not explicitly about Halloween, but the whole song is about somebody who finds a spider in their room, and they're kind of like anxious about it until ultimately they kill the spider. But it's so deliberately campy. He does this bass voice on the chorus. I'm not going to do it justice, but this thing, Boris the Spider. Boris the Spider. And I don't know. It's so funny to me. And he has this falsetto in the bridge of him going creepy crawly, like over and over again.
Yes.
It's this mix of kind of macabre, it's silly, and it's just funny all at once. And it always makes me smile, and it always makes me think of like rubber spiders that you see in like Spirit Halloween store, these bouncy little rubber spiders, or any sort of cheesy Halloween decoration you find, anywhere cheap this time of year. It's funny and a little dark, and very much his personality, I think. So that's my first pick. And also, fun fact, according to Pete Townsend, this song was Jimi Hendrix's favorite Who song. So who am I to argue with the greatest guitar player of all time? But yeah, this is my first pick. It's Boris the Spider by The Who.
He didn't live to hear Eminence Front.
I like that song. For the record, I do like that song.
I do too.
But it's
Excuse me, do you mind making fun of the song Eminence Front?
It felt like maybe you were leaning in that direction, but
I'm making fun of the fact that he didn't live long enough to hear a better song by The Who.
that's true. That's a fair point. Now, don't. This is not
How
my
dare
favorite
you.
Who song. Like maybe I should clarify. This isn't my favorite Who song, but certainly if I'm making a Halloween mix, this will be on it. It's just sort of, like I said, it's just a lot of fun. It's a cute song.
I love that song and that. I can't do it, but that bait, yeah. I think it's a sweet, like, if you love great bass lines and songs about rubber spiders, which I'm a fan of both. Hell yes. So no, love that pick. Thank you, HP.
Thank you.
And,
What do you got, Heather? What's your first pick?
Well, my first pick, and my list, I had to whittle down. My OG list was long as hell. It was long, but I had to whittle it down to 3. I may mention some honorable mentions if we get time afterwards. But my first pick has got to be a song called Halloween by Ron Haydock and the Boppers.
Did you hear someone scream? You better watch out for the bats. It's
to kind of mirror a little bit what Father Malone was saying about Screaming Lord Sutch. Ron Haydock was a fascinating cat, musician, his band, the Boppers. This is circa late 50s, early 60s, very influenced by Gene Vincent. So he's got that great sort of like pseudo rockabilly background, though this song is not rockabilly. It's very eerie. It's got these ethereal female vocals, and he's just sounding kind of like a guy with a greased up black pompadour telling you a spooky story at 3 a.m. while you're, drinking a lukewarm moxie by a graveyard. It's so good. Haydock
So
also
specific.
Very specific.
Yes, that's how I work. But he also worked like in film. He's in a number of Ray Dennis Steckler movies. Most probably notably he wasn't in that one. He should have been though. But he's in Rat Finka Boo Boo under the nom de plume Vince Saxon. And he is also in the Lemon Grove Kids, which Lemon Grove Kids Meet the Monsters is essential Halloween viewing. But anything Ray Dennis Steckler touches kind of is too, except maybe for some of his porn. But that's another episode. Also, for the record, I think all Halloween songs are good Halloween songs, I will say, approved by Noise Junkies, are great for the art of lovemaking, in my opinion. I should have picked, there was a song from the 80s called Doing It in a Haunted House.
Oh, I remember that.
And it's like Thriller, but with banging.
Doing it in a haunted house. I would love you anywhere, just to show you that I care. Doing it in a haunted house. When the beats are about to strike, you protect me, boy. Protect me through the night.
I love it. But we're here to talk about Ron Haydock. He also wrote a number of like lurid paperbacks. The guy did anything that is very psychotronic. Ron Haydock did. You love stuff that would be later on released by Norton Records. Ron Haydock. You love weird sexual horror pulp novels from the 60s and 70s. Ron Haydock. You love Ray Dennis Steckler? Of course you do. Ron Haydock. This song is great. And I think more people should definitely check it out. So that is my number 1 pick. What do you guys think about them caramel apples?
I don't know the song.
I don't either. But is it on Spotify is the question.
Hell yeah, it's on Spotify. I made sure that my picks were on Spotify so we could build our list. So
Perfect.
Well,
I will check it out.
it's so good. It's so good.
The thing is, I've had so many mixes of Halloween songs, vintage from the 20s to the present, that I have no idea who the artists are. So I guarantee you I'll be familiar with it. But, if the title is Halloween, well, I can think of at least 17 or 18 just off the top of my head all named Halloween,
Right. I know. Yeah, Susie and the Banshees, Mudhoney, I'm sure the Misfits did one. Dead Kennedys. I do love
The Vandals have one too. The Dead Billies have a good one.
Oh man, I don't know that one, but I love it just automatically by the name. Like that's
the Dead Billies. I love them.
Father Malone. What is your number 2 pick? Put that jack-o'-lantern on the porch, baby, and tell us about it.
Okay, now this is, I said, the theme here is falling in love and being in love, and songs therein that became the song of that couple. And this one is a major one for me. You guys know that my favorite band of all times is the Cramps. They invented a genre of music, of psychobilly, but I think psychobilly as a genre kind of came to perfection in the early part of the 21st century with a band called Tiger Army. And they put out their second album came out, Tiger Army 2, and there's a song on it called Annabelle Lee. It is an adaptation of the Edgar Allan Poe song. Not only is it their best song, and a fantastic Halloween tune, but personally for me, this is the one time I am going to ruin things with biography, but this is a song I did put on a mixtape for somebody I hadn't seen in many, many years. And someone was in the car with them when they played this tape and played this song. They were driving very fast down a freeway in Los Angeles. And after the line,
You know you still got a piece of my heart. Got it right from the start.
my future wife screeched 3 lanes across the highway and pulled the car over and broke down and cried to this song. So this is instantly a memorable Halloween tune. And putting aside my own feelings to it, I'm going to back up and I'm not going to back up. I'm going to plow ahead with my analysis. Tiger Army, at least in this song, and maybe on this album, because there are a few tracks on that album that are of similar sweet and sentimental nature. Also, this song pulls off an amazing feat in that it works the word sepulcher, I can't even say it, sepulcher, into the lyrics of the tune, and it flows. You wouldn't even know it was there. Whereas I'm sure it's been used in the lyrics in other songs, but it probably hits you right in the jaw. This is a worthy adaptation of an Edgar Allan Poe thing. It brings out all the best of Edgar Allan Poe's poetry, the sort of nascent mysticism that he was always a little tentative to really embrace, as far as I was concerned. Here it's on full display. Musically, they are at the top of their game. This is actually the sort of first real solidification of Tiger Army as a band. It's always been Nick 13. He is the band. That's, Lux and Ivy are the Cramps. I love Candy Delamar and I love Nick Knox, but it's just Lux and Ivy. Anyway, so that's my second pick. Is that a little too heavy for everybody? I apologize if I bumped everybody.
No, I don't want any apologies. I think that's a beautiful pick, and I'm like, God, I want to buy that album after that. Because that's one of the reasons I love doing the show is that we all can clue each other into stuff too. That's the beauty of having wonderful, beautiful friends with excellent taste and knowledge. No, that's beautiful. And I think that's the important thing is that a lot of times people with Halloween just tend to focus on just sort of the silly, almost kids boppy side of it. And the beautiful thing about this holiday and this season is that there's many shades to it. You can kind of go to somewhere that's a little romantic and maybe heavy. That's life. And that's beauty, and it's hard, and it's amazing. And that's a wonderful pick. I love that.
People tend to lock their version of Halloween into their head about what it is. It's this creepy thing, or it's this silly thing, or it's this sexy thing, or it's this. That's such a limited view of such a perfect holiday. You've said it a few times, Heather. It's a perfect holiday. It's not only that, it is a perfect American holiday. We all know it came from Samhain, and it's back from the old country in Ireland. Nobody knows that more than me, Father Malone. I'm here to tell you. But the fact is, up until very recently, the Irish didn't celebrate Halloween at all. It's always been us gathering together on one night a year to go, hey, everything's dying and we love it. And the traditions that make it up are just, brought in from every culture. It's, I don't know. I marvel at it on that level, just on a patriotic, jingoistic, stupid American level, which I fall into. I love that aspect of the holiday, and I love the aspect of that it's an embracing of the darkness, as a celebratory gesture. That there's something absolutely beautiful about that to the core. And you know what, I also want to say that I grew up at a time in the early 70s is when I was trick-or-treating, and you could tell that Halloween was coming from the aroma of wood on air so crisp you could break it. And now it seems presaged by the shelves of your local retailer filling up with $30 bags of candy and all this bric-a-brac and decor you don't fucking need, anything they can wring a dollar out of. And I feel a little sad about that. But it doesn't in any way diminish the actual spirit of the holiday. Nor should you limit yourself to any one of those ideas of the holiday, because for me, Halloween was, and will always be a romantic holiday. So
I
you can
love
make
that.
Make it into anything you want.
Yeah, well, and again, that is the beauty. I will say, as I tend to be one of those people that gets very excited about a lot of the bric-a-brac, because I'm like, ooh, this is when I can get some cute clothes and some decor for the year-round experience.
Oh, I'm not saying we don't all partake of it. We don't all love that all of these things suddenly exist once a year. It's just like, come on, don't Christmify it this much. You know what I mean? Don't. I now understand fundamentalist Christians crying about them sort of ruining their holiday by, over merchandising it.
They don't. Yeah. Well, when they stop oppressing other people, that's a whole other. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Your side overall, I'm just saying. I understand. Anyway,
spirituality's beautiful. Just nobody be a dick, because that's not in the spirit of good mankind or Halloween. No, Halloween is. It can have this innocent side to it too. Like, I love the kiddie side, because I remember being a little kid and loving trick-or-treating, and I trick-or-treated in the 80s, being an 80s kid, and to me it was like the spookiness was attractive, of course the candy, but also just getting to explore different neighborhoods and dress up, because of course the theater of it. And I love the fact that we're already like picking, like, a lot of our picks have sort of a beautiful theatricality to them, some kind of more campy, others more just sort of like this beautiful sort of gothic feel. This is so cool. And also, what's more cool than HP with that big awesome brain of yours? I feel like your brain is probably playing like some John Bonham bass lick right now. That's totally awesome. What's your
no, so my second pick is not, it much like the first pick, it's not explicitly connected to Halloween in any way related to the lyrics or the whatever. But this song, since I heard it, there's something about it that always puts me in the mind of Halloween and the darker side of it, let's say. This is a 180 from Boris the Spider, my earlier pick. And the song is called Happy the Man by The Cure.
Happy the man with the face that smiles. Happy the man with the face that smiles.
This is it's a B-side that came off of the sessions for their 84 album, The Top. And this really, to my knowledge, this never really appeared on any one of their full-length albums. I came across it. This is probably, I think Disintegration was probably the album that, for me and a lot of people at that time, that was my introduction to The Cure. My monomania made me go out and buy more albums after that. And I remember getting the cassette for a compilation called Standing on a Beach. And it was kind of a collection of B-sides and bric-a-brac. But for some reason,
I don't mean to interrupt HP, but I lived by that album. Continue, please. I was just so happy to mention. Go ahead. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, this was this was probably purchased and listened to while we were in high school, right? I mean, this was prime time The Cure for you and I. They were so popular at that time.
Shake. Come on, man. Cold. Secrets. Come on, these are deep cuts, baby.
It's a really good collection, but for some weird reason, depending on whether you got it as a cassette or a CD or presumably a record, you got different songs. But you could only get this one particular song, Happy the Man, on the cassette. I don't know why. And I didn't seek it out. It was just there. But I'm really happy it was, because it became one of my probably top 3 favorite Cure songs. And Robert Smith sings the song as if he's constantly in mid-shudder. He sounds like he's just freezing from some cold, and the whole song sounds like one long shiver to me. The way that it kind of creeps in and just sort of takes hold. The whole song is like someone standing cold and alone in the pouring rain. And some of that is because lyrically that's what he's describing. But it just gives me this tingle when I listen to it. The vibe of it is so powerful to me. And Robert Smith, he has this constant refrain of happy the man with the face that smiles. He keeps repeating this in the song. And again, this probably being high school at the time, it always made me think of the graphic novel, The Killing Joke by Alan Moore, because it always felt evocative of the Joker, right? He's probably the supervillain most associated with Halloween, right? He's the Joker. He's the costumed clown prince of crime. But the thing about The Killing Joke is it's actually probably one of the saddest origin tales of the Joker. It's a great book, but it's very sad. And as a high school kid or someone kind of, consuming these stories and this media, my brain made this connection, the sadness of the story to the sadness evoked by this song. And it's such a powerful combination to me. And I always think of Halloween. I think of it's just sort of sad and cold and lonely, like that aspect of Halloween could be. And it's, like I said, it's just such a powerful evocation of the spirit of Halloween for me. So that's my second pick by The Cure.
HP.
Yes, sir.
When we were 16 years old,
Jeez.
I was by myself on Halloween, and it was wildly cold and wildly windy, and I lived in a wooded area at the time. It was like a perfect Halloween night, and I never felt lonelier in my life at that moment. I watched They Live by myself, and that song is a perfect evocation of that. So thanks for bringing up that memory, buddy.
But it's like the loneliness that we may have talked about this already in other episodes, but there's this feeling of loneliness that you can feel a part of in the shared experience by listening to music. And I think, not to get away from Halloween too much, but that's powerful. Like, it's okay when you're feeling sad and lonely to listen to music that puts you in that mindset. And if nothing else, it makes you understand that someone else has experienced these emotions. You're not alone. And it's like this communal thing that you can only get from listening to music in that mind state. And I think that's part of what I'm hearing from you, Father. That's wonderful. And frankly, this takes me back to those high school days. Maybe that's part of the bittersweet, feeling I get when I listen to it now, because it's a time in our lives that we'll never get back to, but it's just so, I don't know, it just takes me right back.
It's like when you have a Halloween as a young person by yourself, and you don't get to do anything festive, that does like stain you. Like, I had some like trick-or-treat years, like prime trick-or-treat years that were robbed. There's one night in particular, because at the time, my mother, like, she was a single mother and she had to work and nobody would take me trick-or-treating. And so I had to stay home and watch, I think it was either Dracula 1972 or the Satanic Rites of Dracula on TNT. So at least I had that.
Gotta have something as solace. Christopher Lee as Dracula in contemporary Britain is pretty good.
And Christopher Lee, I mean, yeah, that's probably the origin of my eternal love for him, is maybe on that night. But I do wish we could trick-or-treat as adults. There's something fun. I mean, even candy aside, it's just the ritual of it. It's so fun, and it's a little mysterious, and going to different neighborhoods. I don't know. I miss it. I'd love to do it again just for one night. But yeah,
I attended the Disneyland thing for adults one year, where you got to dress in costume, my then wife and I. They gave you a bag as you walked in, and there were stations with candy for you to trick or treat. And at first we were like, this is ridiculous. We're just here to go on the rides and have fun. And then we stopped at the first station and they gave us some awesome candy. Like, they just sort of dropped it into the bag and went, ooh, that's kind of fun. And then suddenly we'd forgotten all about the ride. We were just rushing like children from station to station with bag extended. Like, oh, are you sure you can't give me a couple more of those? Because those look really good. Yeah, so you're right. We should have trick-or-treating for adults because it is deliriously fun.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I just got back from, I got to go to Disney with my parents. I got to go to Disney and Universal literally last week. And we did the whole, like, we went Tuesday night where they were going to have the Disney, like, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween event. And one of the things I was excited about was the trick-or-treating stations. And it torrentially downpoured when they started doing those. So I only got one candy. But I did get to ride the Haunted Mansion twice. And the second time it got stuck, but it was during the part where you see the diners and the ghostly dancers. And that part ruled so hard. I was like in heaven. I'm like, I could just live in this ride. So, you lose a little, but you gain a lot. So, and that's actually, it's not a deep cut, but the entire, like, if you look up the original Haunted Mansion music on Spotify, beautiful. Bootyful. That sounds like it's booty. Beautiful. It still sounds like booty. But, like we said, every good Halloween song is prime for the art of love. And speaking of the art of love, and by the way, HP, I love your pick. I don't know if I said that. Like, the Cure. I think there's you could do a whole Cure comp that would be music to celebrate Samhain too. My next pick is not gothic, but it is phenomenal, and I am not biased at all. I had to go with one of my favorite bands ever, and I think one of the greatest American rock bands ever, and they are still together. They still are kind of a cult band, but people need to rise up and give some love to Peter, Kenny, Keith, and Bill, because I'm talking about the Fleshtones, and I'm talking about the title track of their most recent album, The Face of the Screaming Werewolf.
I saw the full moon glowing in the night. If I'm gonna make my move, then this is it. But when she turned to me to kiss her lips, it was the face of a screaming werewolf. To fill my heart with terror and fright, it was the face of a screaming werewolf, screaming at me all through the night.
Great title.
It's great. Well, it's taken from, and I can't remember what the original film title was, but there was a guy named Jerry, I believe it was Jerry Warren, like him and Kay Gordon Murray, both in the 60s would import a lot of like Mexican horror movies, recut them, dub them, and retitle them for the American market, with not a lot of love or care towards the original films. Like, and in the case of The Face of the Screaming Werewolf, I mean, it's not even really, I haven't seen it, but just hearing the band talk about it, because Ken Fox in particular, the band's bassist, loves cult film, apparently has the poster for this. Like, the whole title's from him, and they were just like, man, what a great title. And even he was like, yeah, the great thing is that movie's not even about a screaming werewolf. Like, it's like incomprehensible. But the Fleshtones are fucking awesome. Just a phenomenal band. Everybody talks about what a great live band they are, and it is my bucket list someday to see them live in person. And they are great live. If you go on YouTube, any number of stuff.
Run with me, you never know what you'll see. And he knows what you'll find. Rainy day, a little time you be on the shadow line.
The record's great too, and this song basically it's cute, fun. It's all about just, Peter Zaremba with that classic style of his and that hair. Like, he's got the best hair. But what happens when you go on a date with the girl you're wanting to get a little friendly? There's a full moon. She's hiding her face in a hoodie. And holy fucking shit, she's a werewolf. What? It's a great rock tune. There's great, it's got a little bit of some eeriness with the fun. It's got the crunch. It's got the fuzz. I can't rave enough about it. There's a great music video for it on YouTube. And the entire album, I think, is actually one of their best. I think I love bands that have been around since the 80s and 70s that are still doing albums. And not only that, but they're doing, in some cases, are doing stuff that's some of their best work. I would put Shriek back in that category too, and Gary Newman. But the Fleshtones, or as I call them, my Fleshtones, I love them so much. So in that category. But yeah, do you guys, are you guys, I know, Malone, you're a little familiar with the Fleshtones.
Yeah, they used to be on IRS back in the 80s, I
Oh
believe.
yeah, they were indeed.
We're going to have to, oh, speaking of things we're going to have to do podcasts about, my goodness.
Amen.
We're going to have to go with fucking IRS things. No, I'm not as familiar with them as you are, but, you know, they were kind of unavoidable in the 1980s. They're fantastic. It's a great tune. I know that one at least. That's what I got for the Flesh Tones.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
HP?
No, I know them by reputation. I can't say I know a lot about their music, but they were, as Father Malone said, they were kind of, especially, you know, I don't know if they were on, what was MTV's alternative show they'd have? Was it alternative?
The Cutting Edge was the one Zaremba hosted before that turned into 120 minutes.
100, but I was thinking of 120 minutes, but you're right.
Edge with the martini glass with the ball smacking into it. Oh, yes.
Oh my God. Peter Zaremba is one of the coolest dudes on the planet. I mean, every member of this band is an ace. But Zaremba,
I feel so deficient all of a sudden. This is twice tonight, guys. Thanks a lot. Now I got to go listen to ABC.
Yes.
And the Stones.
Bastones. No, he's in a period there where he'll come on stage occasionally wearing a fucking cape, like a Dracula cape with medallion. It is like, oh, I fangirl so hard. This is like so many of my loves like merged into one. Like I love Dracula, I love the Flesh Tones. What? They also, and I was tempted, this would have been cheating, but the Flesh Tones did a version of Monster Mash in Spanish called Que Monstruos. Okay, my Spanish is bad, but it's so charming. And Peter Zaremba doing it in Spanish, it's just chef's kiss. It makes everybody should wear a devil medallion or a Dracula medallion. You can pick. We don't judge here at Noise Junkies. And speaking of not judging, and speaking of the holy, unholy trinity that is Father Malone, what is pick number 3 for you, sir?
Now, this one actually was featured on a mixtape for me to my present girlfriend, Amber, very, very recently. This is maybe not a traditional Halloween song, but it needs to be. This is off of the 5th studio album of the White Stripes, Get Behind Me, Satan. It's a song called Little Ghost.
The first moment that I met her, I did not expect a specter. When I shook her hand, I really shook her glove. She looked into me so sweetly, and we left the room discreetly. No one else could know the secret of our love. Little ghost, what I'm scared of the most. Can you scare me up a little bit of love? I'm the only one that sees you, and I can't do much to please you. And it's not your time to meet the Lord above.
Jack White and a mandolin. There's very little percussion going on there, and what it is traditional Americana, like the whole rest of the album. It's a very interesting album. It's almost not a White Stripes album, but the song in particular is just a narrator saying he's got a ghost who's been in his room, and he's kind of in love with it, and it's sweet and it's funny, and it's got a lot of creepy imagery in mixed in with the rest. And you know, I think that entire album, actually, I think Jack White has said the through line in it was Rita Hayworth, world famous redhead Rita Hayworth, and so the song becomes more and more appropriate for my personal situation. And I just think it's a great little tune, and you can hear the whole thing on Spotify. I don't know, it's fun, and you should add this to your thing. We keep beating up on Monster Mash. Monster Mash is a great fucking song.
It is, yeah.
Okay. What we're beating up on is it's just sheer everywhereness. It's ubiquity in the culture, and the laziness that comes with that. Just like, oh, just throw on Monster Mash. And it was in every sitcom from time immemorial, and every special Halloween episode. But Bobby Boris Pickett from Somerville, Massachusetts, speaking of one of those mixtapes went to a girl from Somerville, god damn it, is a great fucking song. And I just want to give props to Bobby Boris Pickett. He had some other really good songs too. Some of them are kind of desperate. It sounded like Chubby Checker's other Twist songs, Twisted in Christmas or something, like it was a little bit like that. But anyway, Little Ghost, Monster Mash. I'm going to put it together.
Oh, wow. That's a mix, a tiny mixtape there. I love that. Yeah, no, there is such a great like it's a small subset, but there's a really rich one of like sort of haunted sounding Americana type songs in general that I think work so well for the season. Like I love that pick for that. One song that almost made my top 3. I got to make sure I get the artist name right because it's a band that's newer to me. But no, there's a song called Halloween Night, and there's like a country fried version that's very Americana country by a group called the Man Sisters.
Shining bright, on this Halloween night.
I think it's a great pick. Who doesn't love the White Stripes? He's phenomenal. I love his ethos. I think he's what we were saying, that Phil Collins is a powerful drummer. He's a powerful guitarist. Jack White, I think he plays with a lot of passion. And I'm not overly familiar with that particular album, but I'll definitely have to check it out.
Speaking of Americana, here's a song that almost made my list as well because it was probably on every mixtape I ever made. K-Star's cover of The Headless Horseman.
Oh my God. I have 2 different versions of that on one of my huge Spotify.
I'm telling you, brother, it's a fearful sight just to see what goes on in the night.
When the spooks have a midnight jamboree, they break it up with a fiendish glee.
Ghosts are bad, but the one that's cursed
Is the headless horseman, he's the worst.
I have the Bing Crosby and the K-Star versions, and I always listen to the K-Star versions, except on Halloween night, because for some reason it seems only appropriate to listen to Bing Crosby sing it then, because now it's story time.
Black or white or even red, the headless horseman needs a head.
With a hip, hip, and a clippity clop, he's out looking for a tattoo chop.
So don't stop to figure out a plan.
You can't reason with a headless man.
But as a piece of like American pop music that's tied to the greatest holiday we've ever created, holy God, K-Star. Go listen to that one on the Spotify right now, y'all.
Yes. Do. Well, after you get done listening to us, of course. Like,
Oh yeah. Yes.
but I love all of that.
Come back and listen to this again and then rate us and then share and subscribe.
That's right. Build altars to the Noise Junkies. We command thee. And carve little turnip lanterns with us when you're done too. And we'll have some soda bread with fortunes in them. But HP, where's your poisoned apple arrow? That's a little ABC reference there. Where does it land on track number 3 for you?
So interestingly, I've been kind of building up. Track number 3 for me is the one most explicitly referencing Halloween. And I'm about to see Father Malone's face light up because this is another one that he will be familiar with. This is another callback to high school, if you will. My third pick is a song called Stand Up by the band Fastway. This comes off of the soundtrack to the 1986 movie Trick or Treat,
yes,
which was directed by Charles Martin Smith. I'm so happy I knew Father Malone would know the movie, but I'm so happy to see that you're familiar as well.
I love
Heather.
Fastway. Are you kidding? Oh my God.
I was not the biggest fan of horror movies growing up, but this one, I guess, but this one caught my eye. I will say Father Malone he really kind of introduced me to a lot of great horror movies when we were first becoming friends. He showed me the movie Near Dark, Martin, great movies. But this actually predated that. I became familiar with this movie the year before I went to high school. And it just caught my eye. It was on cable, what have you.
You connected with this movie because you were a little metalhead inside.
Well,
hell yeah.
Well, I kind of was. I definitely was listening to probably Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath at the time. And this, for those of you who don't know, the movie is the story of a loner metalhead. His name is Eddie Weinbauer, which is a great name. I'll never forget it as long as I live. He was played by Mark Price. from a show called Family Ties. He was Skippy.
Yes.
Alex P. Keaton's best friend. And he's relentlessly picked on and bullied at school. And his one big release is he's a metalhead. He loves it. And his favorite singer is a guy named Sammy Kerr, who's played by Tony Fields, who is actually a dancer, who, fun fact, was the choreographer on the Corey's 1989 Dream a Little Dream movie.
That's his best friend.
Very weird. Because, he has a great look in the movie, Tony Fields. But anyway, Sammy Kerr dies in a bizarre hotel fire, and Eddie is distraught. And he has his best friend is a DJ named Nuke, played by Gene Simmons from Kiss. And Nuke
HB, I have to interrupt you. That's the best. That's the most likable Gene Simmons has ever been.
Oh,
100%.
Oh, no. Come on. Never Too Young to Die? Where he's Velvet Von Ragnar? Come on. Shut the front door.
No. It's here in this film. And, okay, first of all, there's that. And second, Skippy's best friend is, what's his character's name?
Alex P. Keaton?
No. Skippy in this.
Eddie Weinbauer?
Yeah, Eddie Weinbauer's best friend.
The guy who, I don't remember the friend's name. The glasses?
Glenn Morgan plays that character. Glenn Morgan, who is Glenn Morgan in James Wong, wrote the Final Destination movie, first Final Destination movie, and the third one, wrote and directed those. They did the Willard remake. They wrote so many of your favorite episodes of the X-Files. I'm telling you, you don't know it. But if you watch this little horror movie, the schlubby best friend, who's going to be Carol because he's the best friend, is one of the best television writers of all time.
Wow.
I remember you telling me that. I can't believe I forgot that. He is this little nerdy sort of best friend. But so this DJ Nuke gives Eddie an acetate of Sammy Kerr's unreleased final album. He's going to play it in its entirety on Halloween. This is all leading up to a Halloween dance at the kids' high school. But Weinbauer gets the record home, and through a sequence of events, he records it. He plays it backwards, the backmasking thing from the 80s. And he summons Sammy Kerr from hell. Sammy Kerr appears, and he can shoot lightning bolts out of his hands, and he can do all this crazy stuff. And there's all sorts of slasher antics going on, and Eddie ends up in a race to try and stop him from, being released over the radio on Halloween night. And it's the whole thing is it's a funny play on Satanic Panic from the 80s. It has a sense of humor that I think was kind of absent from a lot of movies from that time. And I don't know, it's just so funny that Ozzy Osbourne plays a fundamentalist, like a televangelist who gets killed.
I love his cameo in that.
The effects are kind of cool. It's not a gory movie because mostly he just electrocutes things and shoots, like I said, lightning bolts out of his hands. But anyway, it's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. Now, the band Fastway, they featured ex-Motorhead guitarist Fast Eddie Clarke and future Flogging Molly vocalist Dave King. If anyone is familiar with it, you might be surprised to know that he was a hair metal singer back in the 80s.
That only makes sense to me.
But well, that's because you're Father Malone, of course.
They were brought Amos when she was a rock chick.
Why can't Tori Reid?
Why can't Tori Reid? Exactly. That's a famous trivia question right there.
Michael Bolton was a rocker. Remember that?
Oh God,
Michael Bolton. If you haven't heard it now, his name was actually Michael Bolton. He changed his name. You've hit a vein of trivia. He does cover his first album of Time Is on My Side that is ridiculously out of tune.
So you come running back, baby, you come running back, you come running back to me.
I might have to put it on the playlist you can hear it.
Don't you solely
and have a good laugh.
No. I will fucking delete it. Do not solely our holy pumpkin list.
It is so funny. Michael Bolton,
the man that gave us everything's crazy. That fucking video where it's like everything's crazy. Like you remember, like some music videos would have like that kind of titular callback right before the music starts. It's terrible. But Fastway are amazing. I love Fastway.
So yeah, so they were brought in to write and perform all of Sammy Kerr's music in the movie. If anyone remembers the movie Eddie and the Cruisers, John Cafferty, they were Eddie and the Cruisers, but like Michael Paré just lip synced it. But there's
Like
a lot of the
Queen of the Damned when Jonathan Davis came in and he was Lestat.
Oh, hey, imagine Queen of the Damned if the Beaver Brown Band were the
Ooh.
on the dark side. So it's a great the soundtrack is so the soundtrack to Trick or Treat is phenomenal. All the songs are great, but that particular song I picked, Stand Up, it's got this great sense of dread, and it's probably the spookiest song. There's something in the sort of quarter note bass line that is sort of menacing and dangerous. The opening shot of the movie is this zoom out from this poster of Sammy Kerr that he has on the wall, that Eddie has on his wall. And the song is playing as it's slowly panning back. And it's so creepy. And the guy's look was so good who played Sammy that I don't know. It just, to me, it makes me think of Halloween, not just because the movie takes place around the Halloween season, but I don't know. It's just so kick ass. It's just so spooky and heavy. It's great. I love that soundtrack. And that song is great.
I never would have expected you to pick Fastway, and I love that. And I love Fastway. You know, the little trivia, because the name also came from, like, it's supposed to be a super group between, and you probably don't.
Pete Way.
Yeah, but Pete Way was out of the band by the time they did this. But yeah, like, I have to make a confession. I'm not the biggest fan of this movie, but the two things I love about it, I love Sammy Kerr, God's chosen warrior, like God's, the Rock's chosen warrior, definitely not God, Satan's probably.
Yeah.
Like, and the actor that plays him, you can tell he has a dance background because he's got a great physicality, but he owns that role. Like, he is so good as Sammy Kerr. Like, I love Sammy Kerr in this. And that soundtrack is fucking tight. That is a great rock soundtrack. And it's because last year we watched like a number of like heavy metal horror movies around Halloween. I think out of all the ones I've seen, the one that still has the best soundtrack by far is this one. It's not my favorite as a movie of that subgenre, but the soundtrack is phenomenal.
I Sammy concur.
Oh!
Ooh.
Boo! Boo!
I am Father Malone. You're gonna get some dad jokes out of me.
Oh my goodness! So yeah, that's
great.
That's an awesome pick, HB. I love that.
Thank you.
And are you a Motorhead fan by any chance?
I am a Motorhead fan. I'm not there. Definitely the stuff with like Ace of Spades and Overkill and Bomber.
Mm-hmm.
And I should say No Sleep Till Hammersmith is top 5 live album. It's amazing. It doesn't stop. So yeah, you could say I'm a Motorhead fan. Absolutely.
Fucking A. By the way, have you ever heard Girl School's cover of Bomber? Because it fucking smokes.
I have not, but I know that Lemmy was very, like, I don't know, did he produce them? He was very involved in Girls' School.
Oh yeah, no, he worked with them. They actually did a duet. Was it Shaken So Much? That I think was a bit of a hit in the UK. It's like it's a cover of an older song.
I remember the first time I took her to a cheap motel.
Woke up drunk, you know I felt like Eskimo now.
Please don't touch, I shake so much.
And he had them go on tour with Motorhead. And this is a time period where, like, I mean, I don't think things are that much better now, but like to be, it's so fucking reductive. But like, you know, women in metal, especially like in rock, like really had the shit end of the stick. And Girls' School, like, you really couldn't win because there would be guys that, like, metalheads back then that would kind of slag them, be like, oh, they're not pretty. But then if you have somebody who's pretty, somebody's like, oh, well, we know how she got this, you know, like, you can't win as a woman in these cases. But Girls' School, especially those first few albums, are phenomenal. And I love Lemmy because he saw that. He didn't give a shit what gender they were. He was like, this is a great band. let's give them some props. Like Lemmy's, love Lemmy, love Motorhead, love Girl School. So yeah, Lemmy also is in the music video for the band Boys Don't Cry. Speaking of The Cure, I Want to Be a Cowboy. It is the weirdest cameo of all songs to have. You're like, wait, that's Lemmy.
Makes me feel quite dirty. Don't we all do sometimes? Get so dirty.
I wanna be a cowboy, and you can be my cowgirl.
I love that song. I gotta check that video out.
Yeah, it's great. Not spooky, but it is good. Well, this is so cool. Well, my third and final pick, and this was so tough because again, much like Father Mo, I listen to Halloween songs all year round, and I love, I'm such a it's my happy space. It's my happy place in my heart. It's this season. But when it came down to it, I knew if I did not include this artist, I could never forgive myself. And of course, I'm talking about Vern Langdon and his gorgeous piece of music called Spirit Symphony off of his album Music for Magicians, which came out in 1974. Langdon probably is still best known for being like his involvement with Don Post and being like a very, very respected monster mask maker. And that, which is kind of, I don't think people, it's so weird to think, because I think we're kind of in an era now where we almost, because we have probably so much more access to stuff, which is great in a lot of ways, but we kind of take people that do these sort of arts for granted. I think, we don't even think about them as artists, but they are artists, obviously. But Vern Langdon was so much more than just a monster mask guy. He was a professional clown, wrestler, magician, wrestler. He was trained by the fabulous Moolah and Tor Johnson.
Wow.
Which is amazing. I know I probably have talked about him before on the show.
I would have remembered.
Oh, okay. Because I love Vern Langdon. I once wrote an article about him for Rue Morgue magazine that came out, I think, a year or two ago. He is just tremendous. To me, he's like the cool uncle you would always want. Like the guy, even on his website, I think you can still see it. We lost Vern a few years ago. It has like tiki recipes. Like he's the coolest. But among his many talents, he was proficient and such a beautiful composer with piano and particularly with the organ. And he did a number of albums like The Vampire, The Hopster Chord, Phantom of the Opera. He did a whole album that's like a recreation of like you're talking with the spirits. Like I think it's called like Seance or like Dr. Druid's Seance. And it's like almost like a spook show kind of thing. Like these are sort of like, these are like lost arts in a lot of ways.
Spirit, summon your powers. Call on the forces of all that you know to be greatest in strength. And come through to us. Come through.
His music, I think, is so beautiful and so eerie and evocative and atmospheric. And Spirit Symphony in particular, you feel like you're in the cold, like old basement or, like a not torture chamber, Jesus. But I mean, but maybe an old one, like maybe a retired one, like there's something eerie and unsettling, but kind of weirdly beautiful, like old buildings, even when they're creepy, have a beauty about them. And especially the older you go, like look at castles. I mean, think about like castles where people were literally murdered and had incest babies. Oh, we go to now as tourists. I mean, they don't promote them like that. They don't say incest babies. If it's a royal family, though.
You don't want to bring people in on those facts, but you might want to give your tour guide a little leeway. He can judge the room, maybe. The cold stone room.
I don't know if a lot of listeners know that me and Father Malone are probably, we are like 80% literally the same person, I think. Like, we were hatched out of the same weird egg, and I love it. But Vern Langdon, I mean, and this is one of the things I've always tried to champion with musicians like Vern and artists like Vern is that, music that's specifically made to evoke a sense of spookiness and somberness tends to get like, oh, it's novelty and people don't take it automatically because, like novelty means they can't take it seriously as art. And I say that's bullshit. this is an artist. This is beautiful music. This is worthy as much as anything else of appreciation and exploration and preservation. And luckily for us, all this is available on Spotify. I do recommend, like, this is still, as far as I know, in print, so you can still get it. So, physical media is a good thing to support. Spotify and things like that. Artists don't get a ton of money from it, if they get any money. And a lot of times, like, you can lose something off your playlist. So we all use Spotify and we love it, but do support physical media when you can. But yeah, Vern Langton's, just highly recommend checking him out. And I would love to see, I think somebody should do like a documentary or autobiography. I mean, he even like would work at the same clubs where there were like drag artists and was like loved drag artists and was very supportive of that community. Knew Mae West personally, like, I mean, he also did 2 volumes of circus clown music.
Well, then I guess he can't be all bad. No, I'm kidding. In the sort of Wild West early days of the internet, there were a lot of like peer-to-peer sites and such.
Mhm.
And I belong to a bunch of different groups where these sort of crazy music completists would put together their own version of what they think a Halloween album should be. And many of the songs that I became familiar with them because of those, including one track called Dante's Inferno.
Oh, yes.
By Vern Langton, and these tracks were like collaged, so they would just sort of run into each other and everything. But nevertheless, that one was a standout. So I'm at least familiar with that much of Vern Langton, and yeah, he slots right into this holiday, doesn't he?
Oh my God, like a glove. And I recommend putting on this music if you're doing any road tripping, especially if there's a lot of like rural, if you're driving by woods. You instantly just puts you in such a great headspace because you're like, ooh, maybe there's like a weird like house where somebody's like some weird magician that's experimenting like on skeletons or something. Like, I don't know, it brings
That's exactly what I think when I'm driving through woods.
same, like, no, I mean,
Yes, I see what's going on in there. Nothing good.
well, that's the thing. It's like to me, that's one of the things I love so much about Halloween in general, and that Vern, his music taps into, is it like fuels and fills your imagination. Like there's that sense of fear, but that tied to that immediately is wonder and just sort of the magic of it. Like there's imagination to it. There's a supernatural, real day-to-day life, and especially when you become an adult, so much around us I feel like kind of tries to suck out all of the wonder we have for life, and I think that's a crime. And I think that's why like holidays like Halloween is great, because we can we can tap into that wonder, we can embrace it, we can love it. Like if you're like me, you love it 365 days a year. And it also is like a way to both embrace your little kid side, but also, as we've touched upon in this episode, make peace with some of the heavier things too, and even like feel like sort of a kinship, like the whole thing of like being in touch with the others, whatever the other side is to anybody. I mean, we won't get too in the weeds on that, but I just think there's so many riches to this holiday, and I hate it so much that there are people, because I am from the South and the Bible Belt, where I literally I've worked with people that are like, well, Halloween's okay, but I don't like the devil part of it, and they're being serious, and it's like, it has nothing to do with actual Satan. First of all, if somebody's a Satanist, they don't believe in God. Like, research your Church of Satan, first of all. But also, like, it's like to me, it's like, this is something that's like such a perfect thing for kids, that's like innocent, and it's also a way to embrace that magic as a kid, as an adult, and also make peace with fear. Like horror movies, and Halloween and all this stuff are ways for us to kind of, for me, like as a kid, you kind of starting to make peace that, yeah, there's a darker side out there, and it's kind of scary, but that's part of life too, but you can kind of find a way to cope with it and even, embrace a lighter side to it too. I don't know. I'm rambling a little bit, but does that make sense though? Like, to you
Here's
guys?
the thing that the religiosas they have a problem with, because it does approach the act of trick-or-treating approaches the approach of organized religion, which is a big shakedown. It's a big hustle. We're not going to egg your house if you give us some candy, or on a mystical level, we're not going to come in and possess you and your family and take you down to the spirit world if you give us an offering. So they're uncomfortable with that as an actual literal exchange. So the whole thing must be satanic.
Well, and the irony is a lot of churches now will do, and even schools, it's so sad. Oh my God, it's just called Halloween. I mean, let's face it, the church, all of their major holidays, they stole from pagans anyways. Like Christmas is not, come on, like do some basic research. But
this war on Halloween. Everyone's crying about the war on Christmas that actually doesn't exist because nobody really gives a shit. We've all given up and accepted it. All pervasive. Run for 3 months. We're all going to have to listen to that song. I'm not going to say it. Song, fill in your song. There seems to be an actual war on this particular holiday, and they need to ease up because you can't win this one. At its core, it involves children and candy. You cannot win, America.
No. Well, but the thing is, like, they'll be like, they won't call it Halloween. They'll be like, oh, it's a harvest celebration. I'm like, that sounds way more like you're about to sacrifice some cattle.
Terrifying.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
than Halloween. It's ridiculous. Also, I do want to there's a great podcast called It's Always Halloween that's hosted by this fabulous lady named Luce Tomlin Brenner. For anybody that wants to get in kind of the fun nitty gritties of the holiday, go to that. But guys, this has been so much fun. I kind of almost would love to do a part 2 just because like your picks were so phenomenal. And like, I'm like, just when I think like, oh, I've heard it all, I hear more and I love it.
I'm very excited to listen to the choices you both have brought up. I'm always interested in more and more Halloween music, so bring on more and more Halloween music. Also, everyone go to the Spotify list, listen to that Halloween music, and then make that your list that you play at your party. We guarantee you it'll be the best Halloween party you've ever put.
Exactly. Nobody will egg your house when you go with the Noise Junkies. But before we wrap up real quick, guys, or if you were trick-or-treating now, what is like your favorite piece of candy to get in your little jack-o'-lantern pail?
Ooh, probably, well, I mean, besides the obvious, the random house that would give you a full-size candy bar as opposed to the fun size, that was always a treat. But for me, I think probably Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, because that was also my dad's favorite candy. And I think of him whenever I crack one open, or just, I mean, I don't know, the odd Hershey bar is fine. I would say the least favorite at the time was any candy that had almonds in it. I hated almonds in my candy when I was a kid. I needed everything almond free. And one year I got a candy apple, and it was awful. It turned me off from candy apples permanently. I could never have one after that. So, but probably Peanut Butter Cups, I would say. What's your favorite, Heather?
Oh my God. Well, coincidentally, one of my favorites, Reese's as well. I love, that is still like I'm the biggest, that's my vice are the Reese's. My second favorite though, there was a gum, I don't know if they still make it, called Rain Blow, which sounds terrible that I'm saying it, but it was like the best gum. Like you get like a little pack, like different colored balls called Rainbow. I feel like Serge Gainsbourg wrote a song about this now that I'm saying all this out loud, but it was a good gum. And Sixlets. Do you guys remember Sixlets? Like the tiny little chocolate, like, oh, those were so good. My least favorite is those, I think they're called Mary Janes, like the generic looking orange and black wrappers. That shit is from Satan's balls. It is terrible. Like, I'm willing to raise your war against that shit because that candy was nasty.
Like a waxier version of Bit of Honey.
Maybe.
Good call.
Maybe. I don't think I've ever had Bit of Honey, but I did it. My best friend loved them though, so I'd give her mine. So
I feel your pain there, Mary Jane's.
Nasty.
For me, when I was trick-or-treating, there was a house at the top of the street that was intimidating, and none of the kids trick-or-treated there. But if you did, you received cash.
What?
Yeah, you get $5. That was my favorite trick-or-treating item. Yeah, there was physicians at the top of the street, and they just had their light off. But if you braved the fucking short walk to the door, they give you a finiff. As far as candies go, as a kid, I was all about the Three Musketeers bar.
Oh, those are good. Yeah.
I not only love that candy bar, I just love the Three Musketeers, so it was perfect. But that nougat and the chocolate was perfect. And they used to be so huge, candy bars. I know I was a kid, so everything was bigger, but the candy itself was massive then. There was density to it, even as something as fluffy as nougat.
That's true. My kingdom for the original peanut butter Twix, because they.
Oh yeah! Oh God! They don't make them anymore.
Well, they brought them back at one point, but they didn't taste as good. I'm just like, I think they fudged with the recipe, but the OG peanut butter Twix, that shit had crack in it. Oh my God. I remember going to see Pet Sematary at the drive-in with my grandparents, and my grandmother wasn't the warmest person, but she brought a box, and she had him in the cooler. And I was so afraid to ask for one though, because she had kind of a temper, and she also was very fat shaming. It's not the happiest story, but I couldn't focus on the movie though, because I was like, I want one of those Twix, but I was like, I'm petrified to ask. That's sad. I'm sorry. There's my sad story. But those Twix were so good. I was glad somebody else remembers the OG peanut butter Twix.
I do.
Yeah, $5. Fuck. I mean, getting a $5 now, I think as a kid would be great, but that is awesome. Also, I feel for you on the candy apple, HP. Candy apples, I love the look of them. I think they're beautiful to look at, but I think that if somebody hates molars, that shit is, I mean, you might as well just eat a rock with sugar on it. It's so hard to bite through.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. You're already crunching into the apple. Let's put a layer of glass over that. Now do it.
Well, it's I used to love Swedish fish, but we took to calling them filling pullers because there was nothing that would ruin a filling in your tooth than chomping on a Swedish fish. It would just suck it right out of your tooth. It was awful. I could never eat them after that.
There was a general store in my neighborhood called De Pietro's. It was this tiny little grocer's. And he had penny candy where I would walk in with $5 and say, give me 500 Swedish fish. And the son of a bitch would count them out one by one. Make you wait. I would have settled for a couple of handfuls. What the fuck did I know? It would have been the more fish than I could ever eat, but I would eat them. But he counted out every last one. God bless him.
And I think penny candy should make a comeback.
I did.
Come on. You can still get it. When I would go to the Cape with my family, there's a lot of the tourist places there. They have penny candy, and it's every bit as good as you remember it was. But then again, you get stuff like those Mary Jane candies, and it's it always feels like some throwback to when candy was industrially, there was not much flavor to it. It's the Great Depression. Here's candy. It's vaguely sweet. Enjoy it.
Yeah, you know what they used to be called? Asbestos chews.
About those, be so disappointed if somebody said, I'm giving you candy, and they handed you that.
If I did my own version of Dante's Inferno, you know how the very last layer of hell is a demon in a lake of ice?
Yeah.
So, it would be a lake of circus peanuts. That shit is, I can't.
Filled with candy corn sauce.
I love candy corn. I'm not going to hate on
candy. I do too.
Corn. Yeah.
Very maligned. I like it.
I agree. Candy corn is good. That regular corn's nasty. Cream corn is really nasty. I have issues, but
I do. I like it. It's it's not the flashiest candy. It's not like a gourmet piece of candy, but it gets the job done. It's tasty. What are you going to do? Yeah. It's candy corn. Yeah, you got to eat it. It's Halloween.
I'm sorry if our tastes are too proletariat for you, Father Malone.
They're too bougie for Father Malone over there.
Us proles.
For HB, it gets the job done. Candy.
I'm a marketing genius.
It gets
It's not the flashiest,
but it gets the job done. The job is diabetes. No, that's terrible. Oh man. Well, Guys, before we blow the light out of this jack-o'-lantern, let's plug some stuff. Because come on, I am the luckiest Halloween hostess because I work with two super creatives who are amazing, and I want you guys to tell me and the audience, what have you been working on?
Go over to weirdingwaymedia.com. That's where you'll hear Midnight Viewing, the Night Gallery podcast that I do with Projection Booth's Mike White and CultureCast Chris Dashew. I also do a radio drama called Dark Destinations. We're gearing up for a new, I don't know, not a season, but something's on the way. Go over there and check out those things. I also do something with HP, which he should plug because I'm very proud of the work we're doing over there.
I will pick up what you're putting down. Yeah, so I do the Night Mr. Walters Taxi podcast with Father Malone. New episodes every couple of weeks. I also have some involvement in Dark Destinations. I'm proud to do a little bit of music for that. Also occasionally a guest on CultureCast with Chris and company, and I'm very proud of that as well. And I also have, if you're so inclined, I have a Bandcamp site called hpmusicplace.bandcamp.com. I got a couple of albums up there, maybe some more stuff coming soon. But yeah, if you want to check out some audio nonsense, please do. But that's what I got. What do you got going on, Heather? What's going on in your neck of the woods?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's the news is officially out. Vinegar Syndrome are doing this beautiful Blu-ray restoration of Michael Finley's 1960s roughy grindhouse, I'll call it art house, classic, the Flesh trilogy, which is Touch of Her Flesh, Curse of Her Flesh, and Kiss of Her Flesh. And basically they're proto slashers with like mad jazz poetry and debauchery, and I love them. And I was blessed enough to get to do not one, not two, but three commentary tracks. I got to do a commentary for each movie. There's also an essay of mine that is in the booklet. There's also contributions by the great Lisa Petrucci, who from Something Weird Video. Lisa is a goddess, and the wonderful Liz Purchill from Ask Anybody pod, and I'm very excited about that. It should be out by the time this gets posted. I just recently wrote an article for Arrow Films website about Lucio Fulci's House by the Cemetery, which was a great pick for the Halloween season in general. If you go over to my Patreon, which is Mondo Heather, I just did an article, as I mentioned earlier, about Genesis. I do film writing over there. I do kind of a little bit of everything. In general, you can go to my website, mondoheather.com, find me on social media, and of course, wonderful podcasts like this one, and Projection Booth and CultureCast, among others. So yeah. So thank you guys.
Filmed in Situate, Massachusetts.
Yes. Yes, it was. And it's crazy though, because I believe, isn't Situate it's like a seaside town?
No, it's not seaside necessarily. It has canals that link you to the ocean, and some of it has some beach, but the main part of Situate, the part you see in the movie, is pretty landlocked. I spent a lot of time in Situate.
Oh, okay. Well, see, when you're from Arkansas, that is basically seaside canals. I mean, our beaches here are attached to some very rocky ass lakes and creeks that hate little feet. And I can tell you, I've lost some tiny little flip flops in some of those lakes as a kid. So sorry for polluting the earth, but I didn't know any better. But you know what doesn't pollute the earth? Halloween. Recycle your wrappers, people. And thank you guys so much for this podcast. And thank you, listeners, for joining us. I hope we get to be a part of your new Halloween ritual and your listening ritual in general, and maybe even inspired some new celebration for your Halloween season. So without further ado, thank you guys for listening. And until next time, we are your Noise Junkies.
Happy Halloween.
Are you a film fan who loves the ultimate home video experience? Look no further than The Disconnected. Your host, Ryan Verrill, is your go-to source for the latest and most accurate information on home video releases, exclusive interviews with industry insiders and filmmakers, and has established a thriving community where every film and physical media enthusiast feels welcome. From hidden gems to blockbuster hits, The Disconnected brings you insider knowledge and a welcoming space to share your love of cinema. Watch every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific for the live announcements show and follow The Disconnected on social media to stay updated. Subscribe to The Disconnected on YouTube or on the podcast provider of your choice and dive into a world where every movie night is an adventure.